Welcome to a Tech Moment on Cannabis Tech. I'm your host, Christina Etter. In this podcast, we take just a few minutes to talk about some of the exciting science and technology that's happening in the cannabis and hemp industries. For about the last 6 months, we have been inundated with headlines about the cannabis vaping illnesses that are plaguing the United States and the cannabis industry. And it's actually taking away from the progress that the cannabis industry has made towards legitimacy and destigmatizing cannabis use. So today I am talking with Josh Swider from Infinite Cal, and this is a lab out of California that has partnered together with Platinum Vape and Mankind Dispensary to offer a unique buyback program that helped them acquire some illicit black market cannabis cartridges so they could test them and determine just exactly what is in some of these cartridges. So let's talk to Josh and find out how these cartridges actually compared. Welcome to the show, Josh.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So this is obviously a big topic in the cannabis industry right now concerning the safety of cannabis products, cannabis cartridges. And we actually spoke a few months ago about ethics in the cannabis industry. So obviously, if maintaining ethics in the legal industry is difficult for some providers, maintaining that same level of ethics in the black market is going to be very, very difficult. So based on your findings from these tests, it looks like the data actually supports this theory. But talk to me a little bit, before we get into the actual test results of what you found, talk to me a little bit about the idea behind this buyback program and how this all started.
Yeah, so we got proposition about the buyback program last summer. We kind of got this worked out with a couple of the companies local here in San Diego, California. So we had Platinum Vape and the dispensary Mankind hold a buyback. And after that, we actually took possession of those bought back samples and ran a full compliance analysis on them. We did this for the purpose of showing the customers that really need to see this stuff why you should actually go to legal dispensaries and not go back to the list. We didn't know the findings, and the third-party testing study wanted to stay out of it or like remove all stickers or anything that says, hey, this is this company. And some of them had it and some of them didn't. Some of them were knockoffs. So what we ended up finding in that is about 80% of the samples failed for cannabis that would fail compliance testing when they're made to the market in the cannabis industry.
So what a phenomenal idea. You know, it actually kind of reminds me of back when you're a kid and you, on Halloween, you collect all of this Halloween candy, and then the dentist offers all these kids money to bring their Halloween candy in and trade it in so they don't rot their teeth out. So it's really interesting for me to hear this concept of let's offer them a buyback, let's let them trade this cartridge in for something that we know has been third-party tested and is safe. And then let's use those cartridges to better understand what's actually happening in that black market industry. So it's an absolutely phenomenal idea. So you mentioned that nearly 80% of them came back as being unfit for consumption. So tell us that horror story then. What kind of results did you find in some of these cannabis cartridges?
Yeah, so when we finally got the cannabis cartridges after the buyback, they were brought in-house, and we saw a few different alarming statistics. The first one's 80% wanted to be fit for consumption, with 62% of those cartridges failing for pesticides. And then also we had that scary vitamin E acetate showing up in these cartridges, about 20% of cartridges high concentration of vitamin E acetate. This is the thing of the CDC putting out reports upon, that the illicit market is really getting people ill. And that's just for profits. There's no ethics involved with that. But 11 of those samples actually contain something with a cyanide group on it that can be coming off of cyanide when you're inhaling these products. That's something the Bureau of Cannabis Control of California or any other state doesn't really have a handle on. What happens when we inhale these pesticides or actually smoke them or vape them? You heat them up to very high temperatures, and you can get a lot of dangerous products released from these things. There's a lot more studies that need to go on that, but 11 of the samples failed for that. We also had heavy metal fails, with 37% failed for lead alone, with the highest one being about 50 parts per million, while the Bureau of Cannabis Control in the state of California only allows for 500 parts per billion. So we had some extreme highs on this. And then we also found 2 of the samples to just contain water in them. So they didn't have anything but water. So those were safe.
Well, that's good to know. So answer this question for me. I've actually had somebody ask this before, and I wasn't really sure how to answer it. In California especially, can black market producers actually have their cannabis products tested, or can consumers, is there a lab that consumers could take products to test their products?
Yeah, so for the state of California, we actually offer QA analysis to anyone. So we've had people like parents find stuff in the kids' bedrooms and bring samples here to have tested to show the kids how dangerous a product they're consuming, or they didn't know what it was and they wanted to make sure it was only cannabis. So we do offer QA testing, and no one needs a manufacturer's license for that. So the black market, people can have tested. I don't know that there are black market when they come in and drop off samples, but we do test for the people that are dropping off samples.
I think that's really good to know for consumers, especially if, maybe they have been purchasing from someone for a while and they just want to know what their products contain. I think that's an awesome option for consumers. But based on these results, and then based on that kind of information, what do you recommend that consumers do to help make sure that the products that they're purchasing are safe?
So one thing I know the Bureau of Cannabis Control here in California just released and put into full effect is any licensed facility has to have a QR code present at their front door entrance. So if you go to a dispensary and they're claiming their license, but I don't know if the black market ones say they're black market always, that you should see this QR code attached to their license. You could actually take a picture of that QR code and it'll bring you to the right license and the address on your phone. So that's one step to make sure, are you buying it from a licensed place? Because if you walk into an illicit place, they're not going to be putting signs out there they're illicit. So maybe you might not even know sometimes. Then the other thing that client or customers should really be doing is finding a trusted vendor, looking at their data, requesting the COAs. They should be able to provide that for you. So we'll find that trusted supplier and then continue with them, as well as looking at the testing lab they're testing with. It's sad that all across the country we've seen hundreds of stories, thousands of stories with legitimacy, of cannabis testing. And finding a trusted tested lab just as much as a trusted vendor is very important for a consumer.
Right. So from that perspective, then also for producers that are making these cartridges, what can they do to help encourage their consumers to maybe they want to start one of these buyback programs too? Or how can maybe the producers in the industry help encourage consumers to start recognizing that these third-party tests are so critical?
I think the best thing a producer can do is start publicizing the data. Show the data where they're testing. A lot of them have on their websites or even a QR code link on their packaging showing it was tested at this lab. We offer QR codes that can fit on any package. So if someone had a QR code, they scan it, and it would relate to the exact test that when it was performed and everything like that in the lab internally. The biggest thing to do buyback programs, and I think that's great. It's a great way to show your customers that people, you care. And
right. And like we talked about in the article that we did a couple of months ago, I think that also gives some producers the opportunity to say, hey, look, we are doing things ethically, and we would like to continue to encourage our customers to trust our products and to do things ethically and legally as well. So I think that's a great angle for maybe some of these producers to take to kind of help that industry maybe recover a little bit from some of these headlines that we've seen over the last 6 months and that maybe have made people a little more leery of the cannabis industry. I think it's a great program.
Yeah, I think the buyback program is a great way to show your customers that. And then, of course, we worked with our clients as well, Platinum Vape, to put this on. So, I mean, we didn't charge full price on this. We believe in showing the consumers like what they're actually consuming. So, I mean, that whole buyback program was done at no charge for all that QA testing. So we want to push this so people start caring more and realizing they should be using trusted vendors.
Right. Now, are you going to continue this buyback program for a while, or has this stopped your initial phase of testing, or what do you plan for the future with this?
So, I mean, we have a few things in the works, not always with Platinum Vape, but They're continuing, I think, the buyback program. They'll be doing it again in the future. Currently, right now, we have projects with different vendors, and we really want to work with people, especially if they have something they want to show consumers, and they might think it's too expensive. I mean, reach out to us. We're here to provide the science to the community. That's what we're here to do.
That's phenomenal. Thank you so much for the testing and the work that you're doing in the industry. Obviously, I think the goal that everybody in the industry has is to ensure safety, make sure that consumers are taking these kinds of things into consideration and using products that aren't more detrimental to them than they are good. So we definitely appreciate the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And thank you for being on the show today, Josh.
Thanks. Have a great day.
All right. Thank you.